You're now listening to the Thousand Story Podcast, presented by Thousand Story. Welcome to the Thousand Story Podcast. We are your hosts, Naji
and Luis.
And today we have a very special guest. His name is Jimmy V. He's a filmmaker out of Toronto, Ontario, and doing amazing things with film, all independent. And he just actually went full-time into the filmmaking realm. So welcome,
not too long
Jimmy.
ago, yeah.
What's up? How's it going?
But you can hear us okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we're syncing it up on our side, making sure everything's good. All right, so we're clean. So we're switching over to the clean link now.
Perfect.
Right.
Yes.
Dope.
Jimmy, how have you been?
Good. Just been working.
Yeah.
Trying to keep busy. Yeah. How about you guys? What you guys been up to?
That's a quick one.
A lot.
So much.
Jimmy, so you were recently in New York. What
yeah, man.
What was good?
Hanging out with you.
That was a lot of fun.
No, it was.
Yeah.
It was good catching up with you.
Yeah,
no, I was just down there to just vacation a little bit. Also just I'm trying to like keep myself everywhere else these days, I'm trying to be in other places in the world with my work. So I'm just trying to move around to other places like New York. I was filming a little music video down there.
Oh, cool. Who are you working with, if you don't mind me asking?
I was working with a girl named Annie. Her name is Annie, and she just sings and makes music.
Dope.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
She's a cool girl out there, and I've got a lot of friends out there too. So I just honestly went there to connect with a few people. Connected with Olu.
Yes,
Olu Bliss, the homie. That guy's amazing.
That new track you just put out was dope. Was very
Elliptical
dope.
Carousel.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's so good. When I heard it,
I was that one.
Who was the producer? I forget. I don't know how to say his name, man.
I know his real name, Satoshi.
Satoshi.
He's from Japan.
Three Toes.
Yeah,
Three Toes. There we go. That's his name.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Satoshi's awesome.
Yeah.
He's apparently super killer on the keys, and I could definitely hear it.
Oh, that sounded amazing.
Destroyed it on that track. Yeah,
it was great.
Yeah, I still have to hear that. But,
he went in.
I totally forgot. I mean, I haven't heard of his stuff in a while. I need to go back and listen.
Yeah, it was good. It was really good. So, Jimmy, I guess today we're really going to be focusing on you and your story. And so now you are a freelance creative, right?
Yeah.
You're kind of just doing your own thing and finding your own way in the world. So we kind of just want to spotlight you and just kind of see what your entire story is, like how you got there, what you were doing before, like what you're doing now, how like your struggles, trials and tribulations, your successes. So I guess so I didn't know this, and I've known you for a little bit, almost a year now.
Yeah, has it really been that long?
Almost a year. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, met in the dark of night.
The dark of night.
That's wild. Wait, hold on. Let's rewind
Has
here.
it really been a year?
It's almost been a year.
Man.
No. Not even close. It was August. It will be a year.
But
it's almost been a year.
That feels wow.
Yeah. It's crazy.
That's crazy. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, so we have known each other for almost a year, and I didn't know that you were in advertising before. Naji told me actually.
Yeah.
That you were doing
I was in advertising for about a year and a half, I would say. I studied advertising for 4 years, so I did a bachelor's in advertising.
Okay, in Toronto, right? Yeah.
Yeah, in Toronto at OCAD.
Okay, cool.
And I don't know, I did advertising just because I kind of liked a bit of everything. Coming out of high school.
Yes.
I was like, I like design. I like illustration. I like photography. I like
Yes.
film. I like all these things, but I couldn't choose. And the decision had to be made so quickly. So I just went into advertising. And because advertising had a bit of everything, and, also Asian parents, they understand marketing. When I tell them marketing, they're like, oh, okay, business. I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? So
business.
We'll go with that.
So it works. It works in that realm. But I did it for like a few years, and when I was in school, I was like, I didn't quite love it.
Yeah.
And I was getting the feeling that like advertising probably wasn't for me. And I finished it. It was a rough time finishing it. I barely got by. School just wasn't for me in general, but I loved the people that I met. I'm so thankful that I met those guys there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I feel like I have no hate against the school itself. And I think it's just I'm not the right person for school. I learned everything outside of school. It was at the even point like when I finished LCAT, I had a grad exposition, so we were able to exhibit all of our work for the year, right?
Right.
And everything was divvied up into different studies. So there was like a graphic design section, an illustration section, a photography section, advertising section. So I was in the advertising section, but I was like the pony in the crowd. I was literally the guy who had no advertising work at the end of his exhibition. Everything that I showed was like things that I did outside of school.
Interesting.
All the photography that I've done, all the other art direction stuff that I've done.
Right.
So at that point, I kind of knew that like advertising wasn't for me. But I graduated, and I was like, man, I kind of need a job. I got student loans. I got to pay that stuff off. So I really needed to like feel out whether advertising was for me. So I went in and I did it for about a year and a half.
What were you doing? Yeah.
I was a designer and a content creator.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So
for an advertising company right?
Yeah, an advertising company. And it was a great time. My creative director, Ben, he was amazing. He was probably like the best person I could ask for, being the first job that I came out to.
That's awesome.
He's one of those guys I was like, he needs to have it his way, and he's relentless with his creativity. Wow. And once he has a vision, he will do everything to execute it. It's great.
That sounds inspiring, just hearing that.
That is interesting. So wait, when we met, or when you reached out to me, what was it? Like early, when did you first reach out to me?
Oh man, I don't remember.
I know it was before June of last year. It was like,
it's all blurred out.
Yeah, it is kind of all blurred, but like maybe like spring-ish.
Just about spring-ish.
Of 2017.
Yeah.
So at that point, obviously you were still in the advertising firm, and you had you were kind of explaining the whole story and introducing yourself. So could you tell us, or tell Louise some like about that, about how you got to that point when you were hitting me up and then we decided to work together?
Yeah, because I guess I guess like we're homies, like we're really good friends, but I know little to nothing about your past apparently. Like I feel like
I can't say it on here.
I just failed as a friend. Like I failed to ask anything important. Like I feel so bad.
It's okay. I guess what I did and like how I got there, I wasn't feeling it, right? Of course. And it was no hate. Like my job was great. I worked like the best hours. If there anything came up family wise, I'd be able to leave at any given time. Everyone was super understanding. The culture there was amazing. My friends there were amazing. The pay was great.
Right.
When I told my friends about my job, and then months later I was like, I'm leaving, they were literally like, what?
I mean, naturally, if it sounds that good, just like, why would you leave?
They were just in shock, literally, because advertising is a cruel place, man. It really is.
It's a great world.
It's also a world where, like, when you first exit and enter into advertising, you're probably not going to get like a good paying job. You're probably going to get overworked like crazy.
Oh yeah,
and that was very common for all my friends. So like, my job was like a 1 in a million. It really was. So I don't know. It's kind of a dumb story as well, but like
Hey,
when I
we
was
like dumb stories.
Yeah, I want to hear it. I want to hear it because I've never asked. So this is my first time learning all of this.
Yeah. So I've always been like a huge fan of music. Huge fan. Music's been a big part of my life. When I was younger, I danced. You know, I remember watching So You Think You Could Dance, learning. And watching like a B-boy Lazy Legs. And I was
Hold up, wow. You were a dancer?
Yeah.
See, I'm telling you, it gets interesting.
Jimmy, who are you?
This is Jimmy's story.
God.
Continue. Sorry.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry. I keep interrupting.
It's all good. And then, I remember watching B-Boy Lazy Legs, and I remember watching him dance. And I was like, you know, at the time in life, I was very young. I was very like, I had no confidence really. Mm-hmm. And I remember watching him, and I was like, wow, this guy who was paralyzed from the legs down was able to dance. And eventually I just watched a few YouTube videos when I was younger, and I learned how to dance. That's what it was. And then music just became a part of me. You know, it became my identity. Yeah. It became the thing that got me through a lot of life. And I remember when I was younger, I didn't get to watch a lot of TV and everything, but like I remember watching this is the embarrassing part. I remember watching Britney Spears Toxic. And Britney Spears Toxic, that was my first time watching a music video. Okay.
I thought you were going to say something else. That was the moment I knew.
It's the moment I knew that she was the one. No, I remember watching a music video and I was like, wow, I didn't know that film could do this with music and create such a powerful story. And for whatever reason, I was just hooked. And
Toxic.
Yeah.
Toxic was the video.
It was almost toxic to me. Like it was just poison. And ever since then, I was just obsessed with films. You know, like even when I was applying for universities and colleges, film was one of the things that I was considering. But I was always too afraid to go into it just because I thought, you know, film is a hard life, man. Like, you got to work really hard to make it in film, to even make a living in film.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
So I didn't do it. But I mean, the more I started exploring my other realms and other projects, I started to realize that like music was really what I wanted to be part of. You know, I wanted that to be one of the main themes of my work.
Right.
And that's kind of how I was led to Naji. I just remember listening to Naji for a long time. Through not just one of like the OG music guys that I used to listen to a while back. And I remember hearing his music when I used to be all over YouTube. Like, I think it was like Majestic Casual or like Underground Charisma. It was one of those. One of those. It could have been both. It honestly could have been both. And I remember hearing his music and I was like, damn, this guy's got jams.
Damn. Who does Naji boy?
Who this guy?
It's a bop.
It's crazy though, because I remember you telling me that, and I was just like, wow, like it didn't occur to me that, you know, most of the time when people would say like, I heard your stuff, it was either like SoundCloud or like Spotify wasn't even a thing during that time because I just started like when like Fallen came out and like that was like early 2016, like around that time. It was just the very, very, very beginning. So for anybody to even hear my stuff was wild, but then for you to be like an OG fan, I was like, you know, so it was super interesting. But so when you originally hit me up, you know, you were still, I'm not sure if you still are, but you were still living with your parents, or where were you at?
Yeah, I still was.
And then so are you still living with them now?
Yeah, for now.
Gotcha. So no, but the story that you were telling me about, you don't have to go into any huge detail, but you know, it was, you know, there was just a lot of difficulty, you know, like just from your family, or I should say that there were definitely several difficulties that led to, you know, major stress in your life, you know, at that time. So you were already trying to go through a major shift as far as a career shift, and then you had familial stress. So for you, how would you say that the transition from I guess one sort of stress to another. How did you deal with that? How did you cope with kind of like or juggling all sorts of different shifts in your life?
Yeah, that's a hard question. It's definitely a hard
Yeah,
question, and it's gonna result in a very long answer. But
that's okay. We're here for long answers.
my entire life has been kind of like ups and downs, for sure. And it wasn't just like emotional stress, it was also financial as well.
Right.
And my life has kind of been up and down in those regards. Like a few years ago, I was essentially almost homeless. And like we lost our house. But that basically that time in my life was just not a very good time in my life, to say the least. And I'm not one of those guys who are like, every day is sunshine and rainbows. And we talked about this too. I remember
we
our
did
first
talk
time.
about this.
Yeah. Sadness is a real thing. It's a thing that's going to happen to you no matter what. But it's about understanding that, through the sadness, there's going to be better times. And, although I was very sad in that time and life wasn't the greatest, eventually I started picking myself up. And I really started to realize that, like, no one's going to pull me out of this state but myself, just like I did all the other times. And, even though money-wise I wasn't there, family was like falling apart. And, even there's, my girlfriend like left me at the time, and it was just not a good time. But, I pulled through it all, and eventually I got a job, picked up my life together, and I started working. And I just took it like one day at a time. And it was the same with, today. I'm still going through a bunch of different things. Like I'm transitioning still into like a full-time filmmaker,
Right. And speaking of that, when did you officially make that switch? When was what time did you like officially go from like nothing up just full-time creative?
Because that's a tough choice. I mean, to leave like a full-time job and then go into full-time like into unknown territory, essentially.
Yeah. I went to Japan for 2 weeks, I believe. Just about 2 weeks. And like
this year or last year?
Last year.
Last year, gotcha.
I was like July, I believe. June or July.
Okay. Yeah. Oh wow. That was like right after we'd filmed the
Yeah, it was literally right after we filmed. And I went to Japan.
Oh wow.
For like 2 weeks. And that was a big change in my life. That honestly was. After shooting the Naji video and then going to Japan, that was huge. I took a lot of time to think about my life. I basically was able to just step away from everything and just look at my life as a whole. And I just saw that, like, I was content with what I had for sure, but I wasn't necessarily happy doing what I was doing. And that was really affecting me, So
absolutely. No, I totally get that. Even if you have the financial security, even if you have like you're knocking out the kind of the stress checklist or stress avoidance checklist. There's just some things that aren't fulfilled. When you're neglecting an entire half of your creativity. You want it to be in music videos or do music videos as a filmmaker. And if your daily life is not yet, that itself kind of builds the stress. So I can totally understand why that would. Why you would kind of walk away from, the security, the peace of mind of having the stable job. Even though it was a creative job, it still wasn't yours. It was somebody else's. It was work you were doing for somebody else in a different, for a different purpose.
Yeah.
So, I applaud you for, actually taking the jump and just going into what you actually want to do, because that takes a lot. I did the same thing myself last year. And it's funny because, I had planned to do it in November of last year, but then I ended up having to do it 3 months early because my job let me go. And I was like, oh, okay, guess we're just doing this now. You know, and that kind of like nervousness, that kind of stress was real. But there was also this kind of, you know, this sense of freedom. It's like, oh, I'm really able to just do whatever I need to
it's
now,
exciting.
or I can do what I want. You know, exactly. It's just super exciting to know. It's nerve wracking, but it's still exciting. And you know, I'm just really glad that you were able to make the switch. You know, there's still going to be bumps, ups and downs, but you know, at least you're here and you're still kicking.
For
you know
sure.
What I mean, that's the
a
most
big part
important
for
thing.
me was like when I was working there. I tried everything that I'm committed to. I try really hard to do my best in. But I started to realize, you know, I'm never going to do the work that I really want to do. And because I'm not fully happy with doing it.
Right.
So, you know, I loved my team there, and I felt like I was almost responsible. So I didn't want to have them face or work with someone who like knew they didn't want to be there, because I wouldn't be making the best work and they wouldn't be getting the best work, you know? So I left.
Right.
That's what it was. I handed in my 2 weeks, and it was honestly the greatest feeling of my life. It really was. Like, I felt just so much lighter.
That is always the best feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine. I've been at a point. I mean, luckily you kind of left on good terms, because I've been at a point. I've pretty much left every job I've left at a point of like, all right, I am done with this shit. Like I am done.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah.
You know, so
like I'm out of here.
Yeah, it's really good that you were able to just leave on those good terms, and not that you were like not leaving the door open necessarily, like if you need to go back, but just to leave it on good terms and kind of end that chapter in your life. That's, you know, that's always a testament to the character of yourself, to the character of the people around you, that you could still, you know, kind of have respect for them, have respect for what they do, but just know that you need to move on to the next point peacefully, you know, that's really, really nice. Also, I wanted to ask you, so your kind of filmmaking style, you know, for me, the thing that attracted me towards your work was that it was, you know, obviously it's very detailed, very meticulous and meticulously crafted, but, you know, you have a very, very good eye for cinematography, or as far as like telling a story through visual pieces without even needing like a voice, you know, just looking at like several objects in a room and being like, these things have a story to tell. You know, what how can I film this in a way that really, really makes this thing speak without speaking? And I was wondering how you kind of developed that, or if you could tell us some about that.
Honestly, I think everything that a creative does is through years and years of like cultivating your taste. That's what it is. Watching, consuming a lot of things, but more than just consuming, understanding. So that's a big part of everything that I do. You know, like, you know, since I didn't grow up with money in my pockets all the time, I had to focus on things that didn't involve money, which were things like art direction, storytelling, concept, styling, creative direction, you know, like editing, color grading. It's like all these things are stuff that I had to focus on. So over the years, that's kind of what I developed my style and focus on, you know, just nailing things down like color palettes and art direction, wardrobe, all that stuff. So all those little bits really like come together to build a film.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say there's just one guy on YouTube. I think his name is like DSLR Film. It's not DSLR Film School, but there's this one guy that really kind of solidified that point for me, where, you know, like filmmaking or making a good film isn't just about setting your camera to, you know, 24 frames per second. There's so much.
It's a DSLR film guide, right? Whatever his name is, like Simon Cade or whatever, the guy who like films on like T3i or whatever.
Exactly, that guy. Yep.
I learned a lot of my stuff from him.
It's funny that he mentions that. Yeah, I've learned so much from him. You know, it's crazy because, you know, it's funny that you mentioned, you know, he was using the T3i. So for people listening, you know, the Canon T3i is like an entry level DSLR. It's maybe like $200-300. But it's like, you know, just like a consumer grade. It's nothing super special, but it is a DSLR, but it's nothing like great. But the stuff that he comes out with is incredible, because he pays so much attention to everything else outside of it, everything else that actually makes a film a film, you know, from the framing, you know, the composition, the storyboarding, you know, he takes that time. And that's something that I noticed that you do. So I was wondering if that was one of your inspirations, or if you've ever seen him
for
at all.
Sure.
Because you guys
like
definitely.
I didn't study film at all. In fact, I had no one around me that did film.
I think I knew that. Out of everything, I think I knew that.
You were listening? What?
Out of all the things I didn't know about you.
Yeah, like I didn't study film at all. So like I had to learn from experience and the internet, really. Like, you know, DSLR Film Guide was one of the guys that I watched a lot just because he focused on other things outside of cameras. You know, he focused on, like you said, like composition, storytelling, lighting, you know, editing, sound, you know, all of these things. He's one of the guys that I really watched a lot to learn this stuff because I had no one else, you know, like everyone else that I knew was studying advertising or in design. No one was doing film. And you know what? It still kind of is like that to this day. I'm in a really weird space in my career right now where I don't know very many people who are doing film. So I've always just been doing it myself. But he's fascinating. It's like I remember just the other day I went to go visit a production house, and they're a pretty big name production house here. So they've done a lot of music videos and commercials for everyone in the world. And the executive producer came on and she looked at my work and she's like, "Wow, you got a really good style. Like your work is really great." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And then she's like, "What camera do you use?" And I told her, "Guess." And she started guessing. She's like, "Oh, was it like a Red Epic, an Ari Alexa, you know, a C300?"
Like these are like $5,000 cameras plus.
They're like $60,000 cameras that she's naming off. And
those are pricey cameras.
And I'm like, no, keep guessing. And she just kept guessing. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna stop you right there. I was using like $1,000 camera setup. And her jaw just dropped. She was literally just like, "Excuse me?"
What?
And you know, that's not a common occurrence for like the people that I meet in production houses. They're always just like blown away for whatever reason that I am doing this work on a small rig. And I told her, just like I tell everyone else, that you know, I just focus on everything else. Film is more than just camera gear. I've seen plenty of people who shoot with like Reds and Aris and like a bajillion dollar lenses, but like the work is crap. You know, like they're stylish shit.
I think we've had this discussion before. Yeah, of people who just like end up purchasing like thousands of dollars worth of equipment and don't know how to use it.
Don't know how to use it to the fullest capabilities. So question for you then. What would you say is like, I guess like a bare minimum setup for you? Like, is there a bare minimum setup that you could get away with and still accomplish the quality that you would want? Like, or, you know, like, I mean, obviously, you know, the intention is kind of the ultimate priority. So, you know, if you're going to shoot an entire thing on like I don't know if Polaroid has video cameras, but you know, if you want to shoot on like an old time
camera or something,
camera, you know, then there's purpose behind that. There's intention. So, you know, you're going to get the aesthetic that you need. But for like, you know, the typical, I'm not going to say Hollywood look, but like for like a decent studio grade film that people want to make nowadays, or like a YouTube video, things like that, what would you say, you know, what would be a good way to start or get into that or figure out what kind of equipment you need? You know, because it's a lot of trial and error, figuring out what works for you, what works for your eye, what lenses to get, what, you know, different aesthetics that the lenses have, or what, you know, just equipment in general. So what would you say? What's a good way to kind of figure out what to get?
For a lot of experimenting. A lot of being a filmmaker is like learning your tools in your kit and trying a bunch of different things. Like I tried a lot of different cameras, from like Nikons to Panasonics to Fujis. And it was the same way. Like people have this huge debate about Nikon versus Canon. But to me, it's like, it doesn't matter. It's whatever feels most comfortable to you in your hands, whatever intuitively feels right. For me, the important things are that everything that I'm doing feels right. So the menus are good. I know where they are. The buttons feel right. The way that I'm holding the camera feels good. It's not clunky. And I could do it on really any camera. It doesn't matter. Like you can give me like a 2-3i and I'd be able to run at it and just start filming stuff. I just have to understand what I can and can't do with the camera. That's a big part. Understanding what are the capabilities of this camera, how far can I push this, is very key. Very, very key. You know, because
Have you ever run into like an issue where you've kind of reached the
For
limitations
sure.
of your equipment?
For sure. Especially in things like editing and grading. You can only push a file so far. And that's what those bigger cameras are
Right.
for, really. Like they just have really intense files that you can push. And that's kind
Got
of
it. Got it.
Interesting.
the little barrier that I've faced. And I'm actually a tech head too. So
Yeah.
like I love tech and I love reading about cameras and lenses and all that stuff. I'll like sit here and just read articles for hours. Like
Right, for days.
all
I
day,
feel
all
you.
day.
I mean, it's like as myself. I
Yes.
just love reading about the different technologies and how
Yeah.
far we've pushed the technology nowadays. Even though it's funny because technically the technology we're trying to push nowadays is basically like kind of catching up to the old. Because we had film cameras at first, so we had that kind of image frame and that kind of quality. So then we
Yeah.
switched to the digital realm,
Right.
and then we were trying to catch up and get
Yeah.
back to that quality. So at this, like, I wonder, at what point it's gonna get to where we're actually,
Yeah.
exceeding that quality.
I think we miss the artifacts. You know what I mean? Like the random the things that made it
Yeah.
organic. I guess.
Filmmaking
You know
is
what I mean?
interesting in that way. A lot of filmmakers look for things with imperfection. So like they'll use old film vintage
Yeah.
lenses
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
there are those imperfections that give character. And that's part
Right.
of being like a
Yeah.
cinematographer is
Absolutely.
like understanding those imperfections and what works well. Like sometimes I'll shoot a project on like I don't know,
Right.
a super 8mm, or sometimes I'll shoot it all basically with photos, or another time I might use it digital. It just kind of depends what the project calls for.
That definitely makes sense. Exactly. Because myself, I end up, my main lens is like a $50 manual lens from like 1970 or something. Like it's super old glass, but I
Yeah.
love the look of
It's
it.
incredible.
It
It looks amazing.
It
yeah.
looks amazing. It's on,
Yeah.
cheap DSLR, but it makes everything
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
People be surprised at how old and how cheap the glass is, but it just works.
I mean, even
yeah.
in photography, like I see people like adding grain or like, you know what I mean? Like adding like more organic elements like dust digitally. I mean, obviously it's so much better manual, like to do it organically, but it's coming back. Like there are more and more like apps that are coming out on, iOS or whatever, Google Play or Android that are meant to replicate like the old
for
film
sure.
style.
So I also do want to ask you, kind of, it's kind of a tangent, but so your work with Andrew, or you work with Andrew quite a bit, and for people listening, Andrew is one of his partners for film projects, so he's on the producer side, and I guess he's on the editing side too, but I'm not quite familiar with the entire extent, to what you guys do together. So can you go into some detail as to like who he is, how you guys work together, what you guys do?
Andrew's the homie. Andrew is the homie. That's who he is. He's one of those guys that I met. I'm like, this guy's a cool dude. I met him at like my grad show. One of my friends of a friend brought him, and he was with another guy named Clay. And I was like, yo, you guys are cool. And I talked to them and asked them what they do. And they're like, yo, we make shoes. And I'm like, wait, what? You guys make shoes? That's so cool. I've never heard of anyone making shoes here.
I don't think I know anyone who does that. He's the only person I know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And we talked about it, and I was like,
Yeah.
damn, these are really cool. And eventually, like, we worked on a project together. We shot like a little editorial, did a little concept about it, and it was one of the greatest projects that I've done. It's still one of my favorite projects. It still is. And
Wow.
yeah, he's definitely more on the production side of things. Andrew's been pretty busy, so I haven't really been working with him as much these days. Yeah, he's been traveling.
he's been traveling a
getting
bit.
his life together with other parts
Awesome.
too. And yeah,
Makes sense.
he's the one who like pretty much helped me put together the Naji video. He's the dude. Yeah.
Yeah. So that video itself. So when I originally came with you to the concept, I wasn't aware of who the team was, what the team was, but the first thing you told me was just like, we're gonna do like a minimal setup. We already have all the guys, we already have all the equipment, so I'm expecting like just like 5 people and like this whole crew set. And it's just you and Andrew. And what was your friend's name?
It was
Came in
another
to also
Andrew.
help with
There were
the
2
shoot?
Andrews there. Yeah.
It was another Andrew,
Yeah.
right? There were 2 Andrews.
2 Andrews?
And I was like, wow, this is like a Navy SEAL type team. Like you guys are quick and like you were just on it. And
They call themselves the Jandrews.
but the vibe was incredible. Like I just loved the way you guys worked, and it seemed like you guys have been working together for years. And at that point you might have, but you said you met him relatively recently, so I guess not. But it was really cool to see, some people who were really good at what they do and just do it well, and do it so, so meticulously and so kindly and so efficiently in a way where I felt like comfortable with the entire process. And it was just like, okay, we're just going to this spot. It was smooth, and we were able to provide, food and make sure everybody was taken care of, and everything just went really smoothly because you guys planned it out really well. So, it's just a testament to who you hang around with.
You hang around with, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Jimmy, so now that you're freelancing, you're kind of like doing your own thing, you're your own boss, right? What would you say is like the most difficult part of doing
Keeping yourself on track, for sure.
Yeah. No. Scheduling.
Honestly, not even anymore. Scheduling is like second nature to me, but it's about like.
Interesting. Okay.
It's about what do I do here from here on out, because there's no more steps in front of you there's no more directions or anything. You have to decide that all yourself. There's no instructions for you to follow. There is no like plan that is guaranteed to work. So it's up to you to decide what's the best route. And I think that's the hardest part, deciding what exactly to do.
So you're just creating your own steps and essentially trying to follow that.
Basically my plan was, so I wanted to get into filmmaking, but I specifically wanted to do music. And at the time, I didn't know anyone on a music level. Like I didn't know no one. Naji was like essentially the only guy that I knew that was doing music, like for real doing music. I spent a lot of time just like meeting people, and I met Evan that day. Falcone, amazing, the coolest guy ever. That guy is insane. I still remember we were at Onoir, and like there was the piano there, and then like everyone just started playing on the keys, and then like Evan sat down, and like I had no idea. Like Evan like talked about music a little bit here and there, but I had no idea that he was this like amazing musician, and he just started ripping it. Yeah, he just started ripping it on the keys, and I was just like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah,
and I was just like, I was literally just like mesmerized. Andrew and I were just like, "Whoa, who is this guy?"
Yeah, the thing about Evan is that he's so low-key and humble about it.
He's so humble.
It's wild. Like he has like the talent of every imaginable like composer that you would know. Like it's just, but he's just like, oh yeah,
I do this thing, like my hands can move across the key. I just press this key there. Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, but going back to what you were saying about how you didn't really know many people at the time when you were talking to me. It's funny because it's like when we started linking up in Toronto, I noticed that Louise was not going through the same thing, but like how many people I just accidentally ended up networking, that I did not expect to connect, So like when we both went up to Toronto, and we stayed with my friend Marisa. I introduced him to her the first time, and that kind of created that connection. And then we met up with another. We met up with Versace, Zach.
Day. Yeah,
we met with him that day along with some other friends of Maurice's. But we just kind of made that connection. And then the next time we came back, obviously, we linked up with you and Andrew and all the people that we linked up from previously. So then Louise also had his friends previously,
Matt and
Gwen, who were also videographers. And we kind of just started he linked me up with them, and it was just interesting. Like that entire summer was it was insightful to see how the networking process kind of goes for creatives. You literally it's not like there's just this designated event that everybody goes to. Like there's not like a creative mixer. Typically, those things kind of exist.
Yeah, they do.
But it's not normal. Like normally, if you want to make this thing happen, you just have to go out there and meet people. And that happened a lot during the summer. So it's just crazy to see like how many people that you connected with. Because Louise was telling me, when he told me you were in New York and like connecting with like how did that happen?
Yeah.
Like when did that even become a thing? I'm like, it's just crazy. How that kind of works out.
It's like everything that we do is so organic. Because, people can spot your shit from a mile away, So like, when I'm meeting these guys, like I genuinely just want to be homies with these guys. and it comes off that way because it's authentic, you know?
I think that's probably the most important or most I would say like successful way of meeting people, or and strong, like the most beneficial way of meeting people. You know, because I kind of like operate under that same mindset. It's like, I'm not, when I try and meet somebody or like another musician for the first time, you know, I'm not sitting there like, you know, I need to collab with this dude right away. Like, let's collab, bro. Like, if you put that in a different context or just switch the words, it's basically being like, you know, let's work right now, or let's get into this relationship right now. Let's
just working.
no pretext, nothing. Just like, let's do this because
Business
we just met each other. And it's just like, it throws people off, and it turns people off. It turns myself off, you know? So I try and make it a point to, you know, before I even talk about music, I mean, granted, you know, the context that we met through would be music, but I'm trying to befriend people. Like, I don't even want to work with people that I don't like. Exactly. That would make no sense. Yeah. Like, you know, it's just backwards. You know, you want to connect with people that you actually connect with. Like half of my musician friends, I haven't even made music with yet, because they're just so, you know, so tight. And we're just so chill with each other that it just is like, oh yeah, I guess we got that thing. But like, yeah, I'm just trying to get some breakfast, bro. Like,
yeah.
You know, it's a really good way to approach it.
Yeah, I think we talked about this the other day. It comes down to the character, you know, of the person. Absolutely. Of who you're hanging out with and what they bring to the table, like for you personally. I mean, like, you know, that they care about your well-being, they care about who you are, your growth.
All that matters,
you know. Apparently I'm not there though, like with you, Jimmy, because I didn't care to ask at all. I didn't care to ask.
You know what? You didn't need to. We just felt it was there, you know? We could just say it was an intuitive thing. We could just say it's an intuitive thing. Yeah.
Oh, that's too funny.
Yeah. And it works the best that way. It really does. It's like all these people that I meet are like now really close friends, but they're, you know, everyone's looking, since we're friends now, we're all just looking out for each other. You know, if there's a project that comes along, that they'll ask me, because no one wants to work with anyone but their friends. That's really what it is.
That's true.
Yeah.
Ultimately. I mean, because I think I told, I don't remember who I said it to a while back, but somebody was like, you know, like, where do you see yourself, or where do you want to see yourself in like 5 or 10 years? And I was like, who do you want to work with in like 5 or 10 years? I was like, I want to be at the point where I'm just like chilling at my like getaway vacation house and just having tea with like Pharrell. Not even working, just like having tea, because we've already had that connection for so long. You know what I mean? Like, that's at the point where I want to be, where I'm genuinely like befriending people and actually making connections in the sense that like I'm forming bonds with people. Like, you know, music is dope and creativity is dope, but I am here. I'm in this because ultimately I had a vision for what I wanted to do with my life. You know, I wanted to travel. I wanted to meet people and make connections, but meaningful connections, you know, and I wanted to actually, you know, bring that human element of kindness and just genuine nature to my life. You know, music is an outlet for that. Creativity is an outlet for that. But those are the kind of like the tenets of how I want to live and how I want to introduce happiness into my life. So I'm always like looking for just genuine people to connect with and those types of friendships.
Well, we do
bonds,
because we enjoy it, right? So why not enjoy the people that we do this stuff with? You know, have fun. That's a big thing. It's like, you know, it's art. It's creativity, man. Just enjoy it. If you're not enjoying it, it's not going to come off as something that you're really into.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, it'll show. It'll show if you're just trying to force it. Yeah.
It begs the question then, you know, like if we go back to like, I want to say like Leonardo da Vinci days, like way early back when Mozart days, like, do you think that, I wonder if they were ever friends or if they were just like,
those people knew each other.
Like, I mean, they were hanging out, but like, were they homies? Like, was Leonardo like piggybacking off of another like philosopher guy, just be like, yeah, what do you think about this? Like, or were they kind of just reserved? Like, is it like, did art switch from kind of being this lonely, introspective thing to this more inclusive thing over time, or has that always been the case?
I think it's always been the case, because I mean, when you think about like the Renaissance, right? I mean, all those artists were creating that whole movement. You know, you got Michelangelo, Raphael, Donatello. You know what I mean? Like all this,
the Teenage Mutant
Ninja Turtles,
pizza in the series.
I love how I just named him off like that. Like that. I just named him off straight Ninja Turtles. Yo, I didn't even mean that, honestly. But you know, all those people were working in a, I don't want to say small area, but like they definitely knew about each other.
But do you think that's do you think that's just history portraying that to us? Because, you know, it's
it could be.
We don't know.
We don't know.
Like, I feel what Naji said is actually very interesting. I feel like history and everything that we've learned about it make it feel as if they're one big movement, but I don't think they really realized it while it was happening. And I don't think they really knew as many people as we did. I think art back then was kind of that isolated, you know, process. You know, like everyone was to themselves, you know, even art themselves. A lot of artists back then weren't loved at all. In fact, they were hated. They were shunned by the people.
Right. They died penniless.
Yeah.
You know, no children to take over.
It was all for art's sake.
Literally. They died for their art. And no one cared. They didn't care until he died.
There was nothing else.
Nothing.
Nobody would pay them. You know, nobody. It was an honor to do work.
Exactly.
That's what it was. When nobody paid them.
When did that switch where it became just this? I mean, obviously, we've always been kind of like on the chain of successful or what's the word that I'm thinking of? You know, doctors, lawyers, you know, the prestigious careers.
Okay.
Maybe I'm thinking of another word, but like it's never really been like a highly esteemed career. Like it's always been like, it's always been like the poor man's kind of thing or his next best attempt at making something out of himself. You know, like, and that stems from the early days. You know, so nowadays art has become this high class kind of thing. You know, we always look at, you know, like Monet and I can't even think of there's so many artists that we look at back in hindsight and we're like they were ahead of their time. So like when did it switch to the point where now we can start calling artists like within their time? You know,
I think it happened when it became more of a business rather than so like before you had like musicians who would just play, right? And but you know, you had composers who were writing for specific things. Yeah. You know, they were writing for theater, like Mozart writing for opera, or you know what I mean? So he was definitely getting paid off of that. Yeah. You know, because he was just doing some like stuff for priests, you know, in the church, and then for the kings and queens at the time. So they were definitely making money, and he was at least. But I think when it started becoming a business, people started reprinting sheet music, and money was coming in that way. You know, and then all of a sudden you had like, oh, well, how are we going to, you know, we'll have royalties for that. Because how are the people going to get paid for writing the music? How are they going to continue writing music for us?
Advertising and business brought it all to the mainstream. That's what it was. Yeah. They literally branded the culture of the arts.
That's crazy.
And they sold it. Everything from concerts
to
artworks to merchandise. That became culture and it became engraved in our society. And I think at that point, that was when we could start, you know, picturing these artists almost as celebrities. Yeah, something to be desired of.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And nowadays, you can actually look at somebody and appreciate their body of work now, as opposed to looking at them, you know, as a heretic or something like that. I mean, obviously, there were a lot of different cultural shifts that happened. So that we no longer like burn people at the stake and consider people heretics. But you know, it was a slow but steady process. But you know, it's just interesting to see where we're at now. You know, how much we can prioritize happiness and take the risk. And even though you know we're not making, or you know, we could end up as you know the Mozarts of our times. It's in the end, a lot of these artists that we love and revere ended up penniless, ended up like just dead.
That's like Van Gogh.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Van Gogh was virtually unknown,
and
then he died, and then he became huge.
Yeah,
you know. Yeah.
And nowadays we kind of have like a faster or several arcs rather than just like one kind of like, oh, that was a great art. Like they can be appreciated in our time. Yeah, which is cool. You know.
Yeah. By the way, I looked this up. Michelangelo definitely had interactions and conversations with Da Vinci and Raphael.
Hey, there you go.
I don't know about Donatello though. I don't know.
People said that he wasn't accepted into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Knew it. He didn't pass the kung fu test.
Yeah. Apparently there was like some sort of like rivalry that they had, like Michelangelo and Da Vinci sort of had. So I think it happens, man. I think it happens where there are periods where creatives connect, you know, and they change movements, you know.
I think it just happens on a smaller scale back then.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Definitely. It was way more one-to-one. Now, like you can just connect to an entire community just by one message on Instagram, you know?
Right.
It's like
that's a thing.
It's instant for us. It's instant. Back then it was much harder. You know, it's like you'd have to get on your horse. Then you have to go to church.
Send a raven.
Send a raven over, you know, smoke signals, whatever it might be. But it was much harder back then.
I make art. The smoke signals just like, I art, do you? And the way they spelled it was DOU ? Why OU is too much to smoke signal? I'm just saying.
You're right.
It's another letter.
Right. So the other question I wanted to ask you about, so your work in the Toronto music scene, I remember when I was up there originally, you were asking me about, you know, like you're trying to do like a warehouse show or like kind of like a big Toronto show and setting those up. Are you still kind of in the Toronto music scene in that sense?
I think I'm kind of torn because half of me really wants to just do like the film stuff.
Right.
But the other half really wants to dive into the experiences. And I want to do the experiences, but it costs money.
Yes.
That's the big thing.
Yeah.
And it costs a lot of resources to build anything like that.
Yeah.
And I've wanted to set up essentially like an NPR Tiny Desk Colors Brilliant sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And really focus on the live experience. And
I feel you.
I'm not going to give away too much because I don't want the idea to get out there.
All good.
It involved the internet and some new platforms, and it's a fascinating and new way of basically exploring the live experience and how that gets to your consumers.
That's awesome.
And all your audience. So I know what I want to do for that. I definitely know what I want to do, and I definitely know how to do it. But it's just a matter of the money. Where am I going to get the money from?
Yeah.
The finances.
Yes.
Yeah, because you know, like if you're doing a live experience, you need to get the instruments. You got to bring the artists in. You got to get the space. And when you pay for the space, that's a lot of money. Then you might need to get insurance.
I feel you.
Know, and then you got to pay the sound guy. Then you got to get the camera. Then you got to get the time to edit. Then you got to grade it. Then you know, there's a lot of things. So I'm just trying to do that. But more than anything, I've just been involved with like, you know, bringing people's visions to life, whether it was Evan's little projects or I don't know, a thing with Cole. It could literally be anything. Like I'm just here making creative things.
I can't wait for that to happen, honestly.
Yeah.
The moment you get the financial, you know, like all that in order.
Working towards it all.
Because it's true, man. Like doing something like an experience that's all encompassing. I mean, it has all different forms of art. It's not like just going to a concert. I mean, it's literally going through.
The thing is like you're building culture. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to build culture more than anything. And I'm trying to build a community through culture.
Yeah.
And, you know, the live experience, some of the content that I plan on putting out, that's all part of that. Part of the building blocks to build culture. And that's what I want to do. You know, I'm like, I take a lot of inspiration from things like 88 Rising, where I think of them as the modern day label. You know, there's this independent label that is out in front of everyone versus a regular typical label who just is a bank account essentially, who plays in the backgrounds of artists. You know, I want to be a group of individuals that really bring this platform and put it right out in front for the artists. That's basically what I want to do. And I'm just looking for people like, you know, everywhere in the world. Doesn't matter where you are. As long as we can link up at some time or another, whether it's a phone call, whatever, and just make things happen. Like, you know, like I flew to New York to film a music video. Nothing stopped me. I literally just sent a message, you know, and she was like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, all right, let's do it. I'm coming down.
All right. Yeah.
You know, like nothing's stopping me. So yeah, I'm just looking for people to just, connect with. And
Yeah.
Makes sense.
people who just want to do the same things that I'd want to do, and then hopefully we can just do it together. Because there's no way that I can do this alone. There's no way. Too many
Absolutely. You
things.
need a team. You need
Yeah.
the team. You need the network.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
100%. Speaking of which, well, actually, not really speaking of which, but when we ended up relinking back up the second time in Toronto, we went to this or for Louise's birthday, we went to the restaurant
Au Noir.
Au Noir,
Yeah.
which is for people who don't know, it is basically like this restaurant where you eat in pitch black, and all of the wait staff are blind, and they have to guide you through the restaurant, and it's amazing. Not because food is really really good,
It's good, yeah.
but it's obviously it's not like super fine dining, but it's more so the experience of eating blind and being completely blind. But from that process, Luis tells me that you kind of had like this epiphany. Can you delve more into that?
Yeah, that honestly, that whole experience just changed the way I view all experiences.
That's incredible.
Fascinating. Like we went in there and I didn't know what to expect. I knew it was going to be interesting, but and on top of that, to meet people under those circumstances where you literally don't see them, and all you have is your voice. That's literally
that's
all
right.
you have. Just
you also
voice.
met people for the first time.
Yeah.
That.
I literally saw your face for maybe 2 minutes before I didn't. And then I was like, I like thinking, I was like, I have no idea. Because I met you and Andrew and, well, Esteban, I kind of had met before, like not too long. Like we didn't spend that much time together. But but you and Andrew, I was just like, I feel bad because like I don't know which one's which. So like when we get out in daylight and I see your faces, like I don't know who's who.
You just have to match the voice. That's what it was. Yeah, no, it was fascinating. It was even like I remember the moment like Naji went out to like go to the washroom, and then he was sitting beside me. At least I think you were sitting beside me.
Right.
He was sitting beside me, and then he got up, and I remember like just hearing the change in sound. Like my voice started to bounce more and felt like it went farther because Naji was gone. Like our hearing was super sensitive. Yeah. And our taste, even our taste was different too. Like just eating, we didn't know what was on your fork. We had no idea what we were eating. Literally no idea. And that was fascinating. So that kind of changed, not changed. I think it solidified what I thought about music and experiences as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think these days that like just releasing a music video is enough.
Yeah.
It's like if you want to release a music video, you have to do, a PR strategy. Maybe there's an experience behind it. Maybe you're doing an event. Maybe you're selling merch. It's an extension.
Mm-hmm.
And I think music videos are one outlet to what you can do, but there's so much more that I think a lot of people aren't taking advantage of. And I think that's what makes the difference between an artist who's just doing it in their bedroom and someone who is taking this seriously. I think that's the push that you really need, not just like your art direction and creative direction as a whole, but your experiences, all of it.
Absolutely.
Like you look at artists like Daniel Caesar, and he's like him and his team, Sean Brown and everyone there, like they have galleries all over the world as they're touring. Like they're setting up art galleries of their merch, of their own content, and people are going to these things like crazy. And it's stuff like that makes you feel connected. Yeah, it's amazing. You should Google it and just search it up a bit. It's fascinating what they do. It really is, and that helps bring character to the artist. They're not just a person making music. You get to know. You almost feel as if you get to know who the artist is as a person.
That's super cool,
man. All that from eating in a in a blank
restaurant. Yeah. Wow. That place brings us wonders. Yeah.
Jimmy, one more thing. Do you have any questions for us?
I want to see more. I want to see what else do you guys have planned? Do you have anything else planned outside of podcasts?
So outside of the podcast, unfortunately I can't name too much on the podcast yet. Soon I can. We got to pace it, but there definitely are more things coming besides the podcast. So I can let you know that I do have a project coming out this year. Can't tell you what it is, how it's coming out, but there's a project coming out this year. Louise also has a project coming out this year. I think he can tell you more about that, but
well, you know about that. About that. Yeah, so that's the Tides project that's gonna be coming out. So I actually have to finish the artwork that you sent me over because the Photoshop that I was using, my time limit ran out for it.
Hey.
So I just got to finish that, and and then that should be out April, May time, around that time. Yeah.
Can't wait for a whirlwind.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Other than that, just traveling, working with some more people for
starting new music,
for the project, and just living. And I think this is the first year where I'll be going to London and in South Africa for the first time. Like leaving the continent. I've never left the States, or I've never left the North America. I've never left North America.
Oh, this is gonna be amazing.
That's incredible.
When are you leaving?
Yes.
So I'll leave for London in May, and then I'm there for like a week. And then I leave for South Africa in October. Again for like a week. And then I was trying to get like a Japan, Korea trip in. I don't know if that's going to happen this year because of just budget. And
it's expensive, man. Going to Asia is hella expensive.
So we'll see. But hopefully I can get there this year. If not this year,
Japan would be
next
dope.
Year. Because me and Martin and we were definitely talking about going up there for like a
Patches
week.
Is gonna be there.
Yeah, and Patches too. Patches.
I want to go there to make a film, man. Like I was there.
Oh
like it's hard. Like when you're traveling and you're vacationing, it's hard to like experience, but also like film stuff. So I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So, like when I go there the next time, I want to just like make things while I'm there.
Yeah,
that's what I want to do. I just want to film, make some sort of art piece out there. Yeah,
that'd be amazing. Absolutely. That'd be incredible.
Yeah. Well, Jimmy, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you and catching up and just hearing some of your backstory. It's been, there's definitely, I wish we could get into more of it. I wish we could delve into it, but that'll be for another time. But is there anything you want to say, anything you want to close out with? Obviously, we'll give you a chance to plug your socials, any other projects you have coming up or anything like that.
Yeah, why not? I just want to say, anyone out there trying to do anything in life and who's a little stuck on what they want to do, just look at your life as a whole. Really consider everything in your life and look at the things that you enjoy the most, whether it's the people, whether it's what you'd like to do on your side time, and really consider, should I just be doing that? Is it feasible for me to do it? And if it's not, how can I go about doing it? And just do it, man. It's really easy to say, but you really do only have one life to live. Might as well live it doing something you enjoy and not hating every moment of it.
True words.
I feel this.
That's it.
On a spiritual level.
So where can we find you? Where can we find you online? Where can we find your work?
For sure. You can just find me at Jimmy VI. Jimmy for the 6, jimmyvi.com. I was born with it, okay, Drake? Don't hate me. No, you can just find me at Jimmy V everywhere on Instagram, on my website, Vimeo, you name it, I'm there.
Perfect. Well, awesome. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. I miss you, man.
I miss you guys too. We'll catch you back.
We'll see you in Toronto soon.
Well, that's it for this episode. If you have any burning questions or topics you want us to talk about, hit us up on the site at thousandstory.co/contact or follow us on Twitter and Instagram at thousandstory_. That's an actual underscore, not the word underscore. And if you want to know about our lives outside of the podcast, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram as well. My handle is at Mr. Naji Boy. That's MrNajiBoy.
And I go by at El Pontillo on Instagram. That's LPONTILLO. And at Luis Pontillo. That's LUISPONTILLO on Twitter. And you can find that information on the website at thousandstory.co/podcast. What's the next episode?
Wearing the hats.
Wearing all the hats. Mm-hmm. See, these are things that I thought we did.